Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Both of you. It's a good start. At least we have two people watching. So it's a hopeful beginning. We may actually end up with two and a half by the time that we are done. And two and a half men. That was a good series. And Seb, that's the first time you're here. That's the first screen name. First time I see this screen name, right? Please let me know your age, gender, and where you're tuning in from, which city, which country, and how old you are, and so on. And hello to you as well. And by the way, let me know if you can hear me. Obviously, there's no response, so I wonder if you can hear me or not. "19 from Cyprus." Thank you for that. So it must be what, about 12 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock midnight there. I think there's a, what, 10, 11 hours time difference. Hmm. All right. So how did you hear about this channel? Because I think this is the first time you're here. Have you been watching the videos on this channel, or you just stumbled seeing the live chat is on? HOCD problem. Live been watching videos on the topic. Oh, okay, good. Well, I'm glad you've been able to watch those videos. They're very informative. Pretty much everything you need to know about HOCD is right on this channel. We have total about maybe 3,000 videos on this channel, which about at least maybe 400 of it is on HOCD and OCD in general. So you'll get a good in-depth information about the malfunction of the signaling system of the brain, what OCD is, and OCD subsets such as HOCD and whatnot. And you all know that I have a site, as it is right here on the lower left corner of your screen. That's where you can go and make an appointment for a one-on-one Skype chat, so we can privately discuss what's concerning you one-on-one on Skype. Usually new clients who register for 1 hour chat, I add another half an hour to 1 hour extra on me, so we won't have to rush and we get to know a detail of the situation and we explore it together. SEBM2311 says, yeah, your channel helped me a lot with it. Oh, great. Wonderful to hear that. All right, looks like we have 4 people, but for all these 4 people, only Seb is talking. Don't be shy. Come on in. I won't bite. Not hard, as Austin Power used to say. I miss his movies. All right. Please don't all 5 of you ask me question at the same time. One at a time. What's wrong with you guys? 6 of you here, nobody has anything to say. So maybe I might as well pack it up and do other things. I thought since we have this once a week, you've had all your questions ready to go and come in here prepared to ask them. Looks like you're mostly looking for entertainment. There's no such thing going to happen here. You can watch me drink my tea. All right, now, what's happening today that everybody's so quiet? And they've probably been sleeping. It's being Saturday and all, but most other Saturdays, we've got many, many people here and trying to ask their questions. And today, everybody seems to be sleeping, which is fine with me. I'll do what I have to do. I'll be here with you guys for another maybe 45 minutes if we don't have much happening sooner. Otherwise, I'm here with you guys for an hour. That's what I've planned on, depending on the number of questions. Usually, by this time, we're deep in some discussions. However, it looks like today we have watchers and not much of active members, other than Seb. Is Seb standing for Sebastian? What happened to the M? You just took the M out. It was SEBM. And no longer is it. Just hang on, guys, while you put your thoughts together. I'll be right back. All right. All right. Looks like today is a quiet day as far as your questions are concerned. Looks like everybody has been using the videos and they have no more question. All the questions have been answered by the videos. And David is here. And David says, hello. Hello, David. And what happened to your screen name, Seb? It was SEBM2311. Now it's SEB2311. He says, yeah, Sebastian. He says, I took the M out. All right. Fair enough. And Team Forward, that's also the first time I hear this screen name. And let me know your age, gender, where you're tuning in from. And he or she asks, how do you hit on a girl works at a fast food restaurant while she's working? Well, this channel is not about finding how you hit on girls. That's something you got to figure out by yourself. Just remember, at all time, be a gentleman and don't intrude in their space if you don't feel or see the vibes being appropriate. And it has to be in good taste. Remember, before you consider you're hitting on a girl or not, you're interacting with a human being that needs certain finesse, certain respect, certain way of making them feel safe and comfortable. So at least you will get a response to your salutation, greetings. It would be a pleasant atmosphere. Number one thing with women in general, I don't know how you're going to be hitting on this girl or not, but what I can tell you is that number one in interaction with any woman is to make sure that they feel safe in your presence. In other words, you're not going in there gung ho, having your end result or end goal in mind that you want to sleep with this girl. Well, naturally, you're a boy and she's a girl, and this goes naturally in your mind that that's the end goal. You want to sleep together, you want to be intimate. But if you go with that in your mind, you are missing lots of interaction, lots of positive experiences on the way to that goal. It's like if you want to climb a mountain, the beautiful trip and the journey to get to the summit is what that climb is all about. Getting to the summit is the end of it. Got to the summit and that's it. But the whole pleasure and experience and learning is about while you're trying to get to the top of the mountain, the summit. Same thing with relationships. If you just have that in mind that you want to sleep with the girl, that's a disrespect. That's a demeaning of the character and the importance of that person in your life. But if you try to get to know her, who she is, what she likes, what's her view of life is, what makes her tick, what her interests are, what her complaints and fears are, try to understand her consciousness, fears, desires. What about her ego? And how can you be compatible or not compatible? Those are the real spices of that journey. And then, if things are compatible, the end result will happen naturally without you even having a plan of any sort. So you can throw out that idea of hitting on her and focus on getting to know her. And when she gets to know you as well, if you guys are compatible on the consciousness level, the physical attraction will be to the power 10. Rather than being physical, it becomes a physical experience, sexual experience laced with lots of emotion and positive energy, which makes that intimacy that much more special. So that's my advice to you. Just try to be comforting, kind, get to know her. Your greetings, salutations with a good energy would always be something to start a friendship. So, having said that, and don't buy into all these nonsense out there that is trying to tell you, oh, you got to say this verse or that word or that sentence. It will play with their psyche. The women are not stupid. Nobody's stupid. So all these formulas and all, it's all bullshit. It's just somebody trying to sell you a kind of a pamphlet or whatnot and make you feel like that women are not sentient beings and you can manipulate them. Far from it. So be honest with them and just see if you like them. They like you by the way your character is and mentality is. Otherwise, aesthetically, we boys are visual. We like anything that is beautiful. But that doesn't mean that she's the right girl for you, or even you will have great sex with her. There are women who are gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous, but the emotion and the energy and the sensuality is not there when you actually want to be intimate with them because they just don't have that energy or they don't know what that works and how to unleash that feeling. So don't be fooled by the physical aesthetic look of a person. You, if you really want to connect with them, you got to connect on the deeper level and consciousness level. And Rajan Chadhari says, I don't know if you remember me, but 2, 3 days ago, you gave me an advice on my married woman relationship. Ah, I kind of remember. It was one of the live streams. Remind me of your age and where you're tuning in from, if you don't mind. And until that, I go to David. David says, I'll start. I'm struggling to put thoughts behind me with a girl, with the girl I broke up with at Christmas, who was cheating on me. I do good most the time, but I still struggle. Again, this was a topic of conversation I had with someone this morning on the phone, but perhaps you remember we talked about the reason you are having thoughts about your ex that you have broken up with is not because she was so wonderful necessarily, or that she's the right match for you, or that there's no one better than her. It's because your mind is in search of psychological security. Your mind is in search of security. And as we mentioned before, body and mind find security differently. Again, in other previous live streams, we discussed this, but I don't mind sharing it again. Since thousands and thousands or maybe million years ago, human being has been very sticky and interested in creating physical security for itself, for himself, herself. That's why they teamed up with others to protect themselves from the intruders to their little area to steal their chicken, or at the time, maybe little dinosaurs, or women, or provisions that they had. So they teamed up with a bunch of other people to protect their belongings, and the others teamed up to be more stronger to when they attack, they will prevail. And that caused this competition on increasing your destructive powers, which that mere seeking security resulted in more insecurity of the world and destruction because everybody tried to gang up more power to prevail on what they wanted to achieve, and that created more of a destruction power. But letting that conversation be for another time, generally, human being has been trying so hard to bring about that security, physical security. And about 40,000 years ago, when we were blessed with this sophisticated brain, we also started looking for psychological security, security for our mind. So now we are looking for physical security and mental security. Now, Mind finds security differently than the body finds. Body finds a security from a secured environment. You're sitting here, you've got your limbs around, you know where they are. You're in a apartment, the door is locked, you're in good part of town. Physically, you have a safe environment, so you feel safe. But mind, while it wants to be safe, doesn't find security through a safe environment, physical environment. It finds security through occupation, through being busy, which in turn, it finds its security through the norm and the order of your life. And you create this order for yourself by the things that you do during the day. You get up, you have your tea or coffee, you go to maybe a cafe, or you take a bus, you go to your work. After work, you go to the gym or you meet your friends. And the things that you do are called mechanical processes. These mechanical processes create that routine, and that routine creates that rhythm, that order of your life. In that order of your life, the brain, the mind, I call mind and brain the same at this juncture, but mind is different than the brain. But for the purpose of our conversation, I call it the same. So, in that order, the mind finds security. Now, when you are single, you have a different order in your life on your own. You created by all the mechanical processes, the things that you do during the day. And your girlfriend also had her own order with the things that she used to do during the day. When you guys get together, your order of life interferes with her order of life, and her order of life interferes with yours. You're disturbing to each other. But after a while, you figure out certain things you give away, and she also sacrifices some, and then you cooperate and amalgamate this whole routine to some kind of a new routine that both of you are adhering to. And that is called the new order. So now you have a new order versus the order you had when you were single. Now, after a while, you become used to this new order, and this would be the only order that you're functioning, using it to function during the day. And your mind finds security in this new order. Now, one of you decides to break up the relationship, or both of you decide. Regardless of what happens, one of you is no longer is in the other one's life. So the order that was created and continued and maintained by both of you is now in a limbo. You cannot create the same activities in order to create the same routine and follow the same routine and to create the same order during your daily life. So what happens is the brain, the mind, is insecure because it doesn't have the order that it was always using to feel secure and confident and comfortable and content. So what is it going to do? Still wants the order, still wants security, but there is no order to find the security in there. So mind goes into the memory because we are a recording machine. We record everything 24/7. Mind goes into the recording machine, to the memory, because it knows everything that used to be in the actuality of your life is recorded in there. So mind goes into the memory and finds the old order that is recorded in the memory, and through that order finds security as everything hasn't changed. So that's why many people after breakup prefer to keep thinking about the memory, how it was. It's because their mind is trying to find security and they can't find it in the actual life because she's not there anymore or he's not there anymore to be able to create that order that they're used to and find security in it. However, while you're in the memory and feeling secure because the order is there and because the brain cannot tell the difference between virtuality and actuality, the brain thinks what is recorded in the memory is the real life. So it keeps going in there and feels safe there, which means you're losing the actuality of life, which happens in the present moment. So you have changed and come out of the present moment, and you're no longer in touch with the reality of life, and you are having a virtual life in your memory. But what else is in the memory beside the order that brings security to your mind? She is the partner that has left and broken up the relationship, is part of that memory that you're now lingering in and finding security. And once you notice her as part of the order, the recorded order of life, there's a file called that is attached to desire. Prerequisites for desire to be born is also has to meet a certain conditions. Those conditions have been met previously, which has also been recorded. So once you see her in the memory while you're finding security, you also trigger the file that has the prerequisites for desire to be born. To the mind, those prerequisites have just been met, even though they've been recorded and been done long time ago. But once it's triggered, the file opens and the brain thinks all those prerequisites for desire to be born is just met, refreshed. And because of that, the desire is born again, the desire for her. And that's why you seek her and you desire her, because you have triggered that by going into the memory. So the solution for that is to create new order in life for you. You start in reality and actuality of your daily life, create new routines, the things that you like to do, the things that like researching something new, learning something new friends, new activities, new hobbies, new games, new whatever it is that you have not for a while been doing that. All that creates new mechanical processes. Through those mechanical processes, you create a new routine. The new routine creates a new order, and no longer you need to find an order as it was recorded in memory and going into the memory, because now you created a new routine, new order in the actuality and present moment of your life. That's when your mind and your body become coordinated, both at the physical actuality of life, involved and busy with activities and efforts rather than the picture and the reflection and the memory of the efforts and activities you've had in the past. So now you're creating, and at every moment you're changing those activities and you're involved in those activities. And that is where the actuality of life is, where you are with the moment of life. When you are with the moment of life and involved in creating moments of life in the actual life, you're no longer in the memory. If you're not in the memory, then you won't be seeing her, you won't be craving her, and you won't be seeking or missing her, because you're now busy with creating and constructing new future and new present for you, which leads to creating continuous livelihood rather than being involved in the picture of what once was lively. I hope I was able to paint the picture for you. And David, I hope that answers your question. Rajan says, my age is 23 and the girl's age is 22, who got married at a really young age. And now she regrets that most probably it was an arranged marriage. That's why she isn't happy. And that's how we met. Ah, you're in Canada then, I remember, right? And Rajan says, I told her to first clear out things with her husband, and then we can continue our relationship, because I don't like being the third person, no matter how much good time we spend together. At the end, she goes to sleep with him and hang out with him, not with me. That hurts me a lot deep down. Well, as I mentioned yesterday, was it, or a few days ago, I think it was last night or maybe last week, that you make sure you don't interfere in other people's lives. They have to make their decisions on their own. They have to be free before you want to present yourself to them. And as you said right now, regardless of how much fun you guys have with each other and secretly meet and enjoy and intimate and all that, eventually at the end of the night, she goes to bed with the guy. And that's not a pleasant um, predicament for you. Naturally, you would want to, you would have that feeling of protection or exclusivity that you expect and you're offering. And that would be a hardship, a psychological hardship. So, why should you put yourself in that? You are offering yourself free without any strings attached, any encumbrances, and you should expect the same. So make that clear for her. Stay away from her life until she figures it out. Otherwise, what it will be is you're actually helping her to cope with something that she doesn't want. Because you be the spice. It's like a food that has no taste, but you put some pepper and salt and you can endure it because the spices get that taste that you don't like away and replace it with some uh, cover, with some coating. But the actual ingredient of the food is not something that you like anyhow. Same thing. She doesn't like her marriage or the connection with her husband, and you become the spice. And because of you, she can endure that life to the point that eventually she gets used to that whole thing and she no longer needs the spice. And then you will be left out in the cold. So don't put yourself in that position. And at the same time, let her figure out her own life. She's responsible for her own choices, and she has to be um, dealing with her mistakes or preferences. And it's not up to you to claim that you know what's best for her. If she really is not happy, then don't provide a coating for her. Stay away. She knows about you, who you are, and you know about her. If she still is not happy with her life, she can make that decision on her own. At the same time, you will not have anything on your conscience later on to say that you were the cause of her having the courage to leave her life, her husband, and you will not feel guilty that you caused somebody not having what she might have stayed with. And at the same time, if things don't work when you guys get together, she will always say, "Well, you caused me to leave my husband." Or you will say, "If I didn't do that, I would not be in this trouble." In order to make it comfortable for yourself and fair for her, and just have this habit of not interfering in other people's lives, just stay away until she figures it out. David says, "Thank you. Pretty much what I'm doing, but hearing it again helps." Okay, delighted to hear that it was helpful to you, David. And now we have Amin Wifak. He says, "Hi, Dr. Mehran. I'm not a doctor. Let's get this straight. Amin, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I don't have any medical credentials. My research is independent in regards to understanding what is thought, how is it put together, how does it come about, what is consciousness, the content of the consciousness, the relationship between consciousness and thoughts, what is fear, how is it born, desire, ego, mechanical process, order in life, and all these things are extracurricular studies that I've done after university. Discussions and research on neuroscience of habits brings about dealing with OCD and OCD subsets, understanding the components of the brain that are involved in OCD and OCD subsets, um, striatum in midbrain, and all the other components that we talk about in my usual videos in regards to OCD. They're all experiences and research that I've done on the findings of scholars such as Dr. Speary, Dr. Penfield, Dr. Owen, Dr. Leibet, and many of the some of the reports that Dr. Ignor has put together in regards to the experiments that all these brilliant Nobel Prize winning type of echelon of experience have been done in the laboratories. And so I have been able to understand their experiences and on philosophical point of views and scientific point of views, along with my research in the movement, inner movement of the psyche, then I can analyze and open some channels for you to understand your own psyche better and deal with your issues that way. Otherwise, I am not a doctor. And having said that, says, I broke up with my ex who is 8 years older. But first, you got to tell me how old you are. Otherwise, 8 years older doesn't mean anything to me because I don't know how old you are. It's like saying, my friend is 5 years older than me. How old am I? How old is he? Well, I don't know how old is he as long as I don't know how old you are. I can't add 5 years to what? So maybe I spoke too soon. You might have that information here. Says, I broke up with my ex who is 8 years older than me. Aha, there it is in brackets. I'm 24. Okay. You're 24. You just brought your head out of the ground. You're just beginning to learn who you are, what you want, what your strong points and weak points are. You're only 24 years old. I know it sounds like you are the wise of the world because compared to what you were at 19 or 20 or 21 or 22, you are wise of the world. But in the actuality of what you will be at age 30, you still don't know much about yourself. So at this time that you don't know much about yourself, you damn well don't know much about what kind of a woman you want in your life. Right now, that woman 8 years older than you is more like a big sister or a mother to you than a girlfriend. Why? Because she always falls on the fact that I'm older than you. You listen to what I say. I have more experience. Even if she doesn't say that, you think of it because you know that she's older than you. So you somehow are kind of not able to have that manliness that you would like to have because you always feel like, well, I'm younger. I can't really tell her what to do. I don't have that experience or that education. And you always feel somewhat not as manly as you want to be. Maybe sexually you would be, but in your relationship in life, you won't feel that great. So the fact that it's broken up is a good news. It's a beginning of your freedom in your mind because that was maybe pleasant at that age. It's always complimentary when we are very young and we're going out with an older woman. We feel we're more manly because that older woman has approved us. And that's a very good feeling for a young man. But in reality, it dampens your ability to be the individual that you can be, the man that you can be, because you're always in the shadow of her age and experience and wisdom, because she's older, she's got more wisdom, maybe more education and more know how. And that kind of puts a damper on you. So I don't necessarily advise if you have a choice, to go for a woman who's much older than you. Maybe a couple of years, that's understandable. But 8 years, that's quite a bit. And it's kind of, you know, not a good idea. So let's read the rest. And says, I have broken up with my ex who is 8 years older than me. I'm 24. She calls this week. We talk, and she said to me that she had the best intimate relationship with me. Personally, I really love her. Yeah, you don't love her. You can't love her because love comes on the consciousness level. Your consciousness level and her consciousness level, two different stages of life, different backgrounds. It's always going to be differences between the two consciousness of two people, and divisions and conflicts going to be there all the time. So what you really feel about her is not necessarily love, it's lust. And that's a beautiful feeling, especially when you're 24 and she's like 32. Jesus, she's at the top of her life. She's a full woman. She's amazing at that age. And you can't compare her with the younger girls that you see like 20 and 21, 22, closer to your age, because she's a full grown woman and she can have you eat off of her hand and do whatever she wants and you will love it because she can give you what you can't get from a much younger woman. But at the same time, you're being robbed of the person that you can be in relationship with a woman, uh, because you relinquish your abilities, your leadership, your manhood, for that sexuality and sensuality that you cannot compare her with other younger woman closer to your age at the moment. So these are some of the things you got to consider. And so, what's the point here? Do we have a point here? And he continues, says, I really connect with her. I was thinking that I forgot here, or I forgot her, but no, I'm strongly thinking about her. I don't understand what is happening to me. Uh, Basal ganglia, yeah, that's what I was talking about a while ago. That means you've been listening to some of my videos. Good for you. Excellent. Midbrain, basal ganglia, and striatum there. So, what's the point here? I mean, what is your question? Was it just telling me who you broke up with, broken up with? And David says, "I'm out of here. Have a good day, sir. You're doing good work." Thank you very much, David. Thank you for stopping by and appreciate your time and attention to this channel. So, I mean, are you going to tell me what was the purpose of that sharing? Now, we have Philip Kavrag. Says, hey, Miran, why do my intrusive thoughts seem insignificant, and no longer worry me? Why should they worry you? Because you probably have watched the videos and understood that brain is not you, you're not the brain. So the thoughts that the brain makes cannot be you either. Every organ has a job to do. Liver has its own job. Kidney has its own job to purify your blood, gets the toxins out. Liver, the same, similar, different things. That it's their job. Brain's job is to make thoughts. That's what it does. 80, 90,000 thoughts a day brain makes. None of them are your responsibilities. None of them are your doing. It's like a bazaar. You go in there, there's so many stores out there, so many products and merchandises and merchants out there. They offer what they have. But you don't buy from every little store that you see in the bazaar. You just look at them, you pass by until you get to the store that has what you're looking for. Then you purchase it. The same thing in the brain. It makes thoughts 80, 90,000 times a day, and it doesn't know what it's making. It just gets everything that seeps through the consciousness, through mediums and videos and people's acting, real life, virtual, all that information comes in, and then it connects with all that information and makes thoughts. Brain is like a manufacturing plant that it's got an assembly line. You put the product, you put the ingredients in, it comes out the other end on the conveyor belt, a certain product, a certain design. Now, if the material is not put exactly as it's supposed to be, it still makes that product, but it makes it with different material, which is of no use for what it is supposed to be used for. But wrong material went in, and the same product look comes out, but it's of no use to you. That's why you have quality control people at the end of the conveyor belt. They look at the product, say that's defective, that's made of different material that is supposed to be designed. The standard material is not there. So they reject all these things. Now, your awareness, which is not the brain, is that quality control guy. You're supposed to judge the thoughts that the brain makes, not to accept suggestions and every goddamn thing that comes out of your brain and take it as some direction or directive that you're supposed to be making sense out of it, or it describes you, or it's about you, or defines you. None of that shit. Brain is just a mechanical machine, makes thoughts. You, on the other hand, you're away, you're on top, you're beyond the brain. According to the research that Dr. Speary, Dr. Penfield, and I believe, and Dr. Owens and Dr. Levitt, all their experiments prove scientifically that there are aspects of you and mind, there are aspects of the mind and you that the brain cannot reach, which means you're beyond the brain, and brain is not you, you're not the brain. In many different videos that I've created here, having used quantum mechanics and quantum physics theories, I have proven to you, if you watch that video, that when you look for thoughts, just like when the scientists wanted to find out why electron gun going through a steel plate slit in the steel plate puts an impression behind that steel plate as one line as the electrons have gone through that slot. But when they put two slots on that steel plate and the electrons go through those two spots, instead of two lines behind it's on the wall behind it, they will have 20 lines. And they couldn't figure it. Why is it overlapping? So they decided to put a instrument and an observer in the laboratory to watch what happens. And as soon as they put a instrument, measuring instrument, a watcher, an observer, to see the process and what happens in this experiment when the electrons are fired from that gun, electrons behaved. There was only two lines, no longer 20 lines, only two lines, meaning because the instrument was not part of the experiment, the electrons in the quantum world, they became aware that there's something outside of itself is witnessing what's happening. So they regulated, and they did not behave irregular. They behaved as it was expected. Because the relationship between the experiment and what was happening in the experiment and the observer, the instrument, was separate. They were not one and the same. Now, you can do the same thing with your own self. If you just close your mind, close your eyes, and look for a thought, however you think the real estate of your brain is. It has nooks and crannies, it has different rooms, it's all neurons, it's all space. I don't know how you imagine your brain real estate to be. You think it of being muscle there, you think it of being neurons, you think it of being empty, you think it of being small rooms, nooks and crannies. Whatever it is, look in all those little nooks and crannies and little rooms and the neurons, and just look in search of finding a thought being born. If you keep looking for it, you will see the same brain that is constantly making intrusive thoughts or thoughts of some kind, and it's repetitious thought, and you can't get rid of him while you're looking and searching to find a thought in however you imagine the real estate of your brain to be, all the neurons and nooks and crannies and rooms, you can't find a thought. There is no thought. Thought is not produced while you're looking for it. Because you, like the experiment in the quantum lab, you're outside of the brain. And once you're looking at the brain knows you're not the brain knows you're outside the brain knows that you know that you're separate from the brain behaves, stops making thoughts, because now there's an observer. When there's an observer, that means the observer in this case is not the observed. Therefore, you're outside of the brain, and brain shuts down and behaves properly. That proves to you, among many other ways that we have proven, you're not the brain is not you. So when the brain makes all these intrusive thoughts or any kind of thoughts, it's irrelevant to you. It's nonsense. It's just what it does. But it's not defining you. It's not suggesting to you, this is what you are, this is what you should follow. If you understand this, then it frees you from being a victim to the brain, and understand that you are the awareness that tells you that the brain is producing something that is not in line with your values. Because if you were not different and separate from the brain, if you were not higher than the brain, if you were the same as the brain, when the brain would suggest something, you would not be able to be aware of the contradiction. Because awareness is only when there's a contradiction. If there's no contradiction, you can't feel anything is different. But because you feel something is different, this thought is not mine. This is not my identity. This suggestion of the brain is not in line with my values. That's awareness. And that awareness is there because there's a contradiction between who you are, what your preferences are, and what the brain is suggesting. That clearly tells you that because there's a contradiction, that's because you are the awareness, and that is the brain, and it's not one and the same. Philosophically and scientifically, it's now proven beyond the shadow of the doubt that you're not the brain, brain is not you. In the book Brain Lock of Dr. Schwartz, it explains it thoroughly. And in the consideration of what Aristotle said about 1,000 years ago in regards to dualism and materialism, that materialists were saying there's only atoms and void. There's either nothing or atom, nothing or something. But Aristotle was saying that there's a dualism. There's something beyond, beyond something. That means it's not necessarily tangible. There's something beyond atom or nothing. There's something or nothing. And that was later on, using the modern science, neuroscience and whatnot, was proven beyond the shadow of the doubt that you're not the brain, brain is not you. And this idea of the materialist is now, what is it, the word, is now proven that was false. So if for that reason, I think if in case it wouldn't be too long, because this topic, when I get talking about it, it goes, God knows, for so long. Okay. This video, which you are not, that video, if you watch it, it will tell you exactly what I'm trying to introduce to you here. But it's about 48 minutes, but it's a very informative about the experience of Dr. Asperi, Dr. Penfield, Dr. Libet, and Dr. Owens. And it shows you, it talks about the materialism and the dualism, and talks about the atoms and void, atoms are void, and also the what Aristotle started 1,000 years ago, and the proof, scientific proof about how actually is the actuality of what we are all about, the dualism. There's something beyond the brain. And that's why Dr. Owens proved that the crushed brain of a patient, that the brain was no longer in one piece and could not function, yet she could still communicate. And that reason for communication was because what makes her tick is not just the brain. There's something beyond the brain that she still can communicate with, even though the brain is smashed and destroyed. So in that way, you can understand you're not the brain, brain is not you, and don't ever get fooled by all these thoughts that show up in your head. Those thoughts are like the feces and refuse of an organ. Like your intestine, you eat food, it changes into energy, use it for your nourishment, and then the feces and the refuse is exited when you go to the bathroom. Those are things that cannot be used. Now, brain also functions as an organ, and it makes thoughts. Those thoughts that are intrusive are the feces, extras that are not useful. And because of the function that the brain had during the day with many useful things that it does, it also puts out refuses. And these intrusive thoughts is just a byproduct of its function, because it just creates all kind of thoughts. And many of them are like the refuse because it's not usable to you. Some of them are used, and you're the judge for using, choosing what is useful to you, what is not. Not that whatever brain puts out, oh, I have to follow it. That's about me. That identifies me. That's what, I'm all about. What the brain says. No. You were functioning without this sophisticated brain for millions of years, and there was nothing wrong with you. You were instinctively living, and everything was fine. So you were in existence before this brain came. So this brain is not you. This brain is an addition to you, as a tool, apparatus to give you more facilities and facilitate more abilities for you. And that's all there is to it. Yet somehow we've been duped to think that because it does math and helps us to solve certain things and figure out certain things, then it is me. It's just an organ. So when it malfunctions and comes up with all these intrusive thoughts, that's what it is. Refuse, intrusive thoughts. What the brain makes, it's not about you. So you be the judge of it, and you let it die by the wayside by not paying attention. And then we have the 4 steps of Dr. Schwartz that talks about how we can rewire our brain and let ourselves come back to the reality and have the brain function as its default program rather than through the glitches and the malfunction of the signal in the system. Which again, we have another video on the 4 steps of Dr. Schwartz, which I'm sure you have watched it if you're interested in dealing with OCD and intrusive thoughts. All right. So Philip said, why do my intrusive thoughts seem insignificant and no longer worry me? And they shouldn't worry you. That's perfectly fine. And how can they seem so real and, on the other hand, so insignificant? Well, they seem real because that's the power of the mind. The brain has power. Again, brain and mind are different. I just use it the same word to have the conversation going. Brain is very powerful. Brain can make you feel something is real when it doesn't even exist. Hallucination, for one thing. You believe that that thing is happening, but really is not. Just imagine this right now, the power of brain. Close your eyes and imagine the example that I've used many times before. You're in France. You're part of a tour, and the tour guide has taken you to a vineyard. It's out of season, and the grapes are not ripe yet. It's all green grapes, sour like hell. So the tour guide gives everyone a little couple of pieces of sour grapes, the green grapes. You put it in your mouth. Oh my God, it's sour like hell. I can't even. You try to spit it out, but it's all over your mouth and it's just making saliva coming out of your mouth. And then after that, it gives you half a lemon. Everybody, squeezes the lemon in their mouth, and now the whole mouth is sour like hell. If you imagine right now and notice that your mouth is actually salivating. But there is no green grape. There is no sour grape. There is no lime. But the thought of it made a reaction to the body because the brain has that power. And to the brain, virtuality and actuality has no difference. That's why when it thinks about, it's so powerful, when it thinks about a sour grape, your physical body being directed by the brain believes that, and when it believes it, it reacts to it. But yet there is no reality to it. That's the power of the brain. But just because it reacted to it, that doesn't mean that there's actually lime or a green grape here. You see the power of the brain? The fact that your body reacts to the suggestion of the brain, this is not an evidence that that suggestion is accurate or fact. It just means it has the power over your body. So if you have HOCD and you get arousal, it's a association of the sexuality that in the brain is all connected. So you see something naked, you don't think about the gender of it, you don't think about anything of it. The fact that the brain sees something naked associated with the concept of sex, and the concept of sex, which is what it is for you, it reacts and makes the body react. You may get arousal. But then you say, oh, because he was thinking about a tree, then I'm a tree sexual. Or if I was thinking saw a naked man's body, then I'm a homosexual. It's not true. It's just the association that the brain makes in a nanosecond, and that's the reaction the body does. Because often you have a hard-on when you wake up in the morning and there's no one beside you. What is that? Selfosexual? No, it's a reaction that the body can have, whether there's a thought involved or biologically, you just woke up and your hormones are in action and it creates it. None of these is defining you or your sexuality. It's just the way that the brain can make body react. But it is not identifying you just because a body reacts to some kind of a suggestion of the brain, which is the result of the association of that concept to the actual concept that is suitable to you. But because the triggering factor or the beginning of this story was about something that you're not in line in your values, you think, oh, what is that? I should question that. No, you don't question that. It's a reflection. It's a reflex, It's just a reflex that the brain associates all this together. Before you know it, it associates to the kind of sex that is interesting to you. and it forgets about the trigger point. It just thinks about the concept, and you react to the concept, and then you conclude that, oh my God, this must be because of this or that. No, you have to understand all this. Once you understand all these, then all these thoughts becomes irrelevant. The brain loses its importance as far as the um, place that you could find your identity in. You don't find your identity in the brain. When they did the experiment, when Dr. Penfield uh, surgered on operated on 1,000 brains, and when you operate on brain, when you pass through the skull, there is no more nerve in the brain. So often the patients were awake when they were doing the probing. And so they could probe some part in the back of the brain, occipital point, and then there could be some kind of a light or sight. They could stimulate the eyesight. They could stimulate part of the brain, and there could be a word or a sound be made. They could stimulate speech sign, but they could never localize compassionate side. They could never localize love center. They could never localize political center. They would never localize math center. So all these that supposedly is a function of the brain were not they were not able to localize a center for that function, which means there are aspects of mind and you that the brain cannot even reach because it's not even localizable in the real estate of the brain. So understanding all these information helps you to help yourself understand the inner movement of your psyche. Okay, let me sip of this. Amin says, I was strongly thinking about her. Should I consider to go back to her? Well, it's if sex is what you're looking for. Yeah, why not? But if you want to fall in love with her, she will eventually leave you, and you might eventually leave her, but you will become dependent on her. She's also older. She would have a little bit of a leadership role because of her age and experience in life. And then when she eventually leaves you, which she will, because usually women are traditionally and biologically more interested in for a long-term relationship with someone who is older than them and can have certain level of leadership that they could bring with them. Not total, because they would be leader in some aspect of their own life, but there are certain things that they want their man to have the ability to do, that provisions, providing things, creating security, and all the other things that they expect. They don't always find it in the younger man. Physically, yes, but mentally, they also need to be satisfied. And that mentality that they're looking for usually comes from an older man than themselves. So for a while she's in that age and you're in that age, she will enjoy you sexually, physically, but mentally, you're always complying to what she says and what she likes. That's why you find yourself compatible with her. But the question is she finding herself compatible with you? She's far in advance in education, perhaps, or in experience in life. So you try to comply and try to find yourself compatible with her. And when you do find compatibility in certain aspect of life, you become elated. But there are many things that she wants to find interesting that she may not find it beyond your physical attribute, and she's interested in the experiences and the wisdom and so on, which naturally you're at the age that, unless you're Aristotle's son, it would be rather difficult to expect that you'd be able to fulfill the her expectations in consciousness level. I'm not saying she's the wise of the world or she's a smart this and that or philosophical of any kind. I'm just saying, from what I hear from you, she being older, she is a attractive point for you at your age. But in a few years, she may be interested to find somebody that she would look up to, and that wouldn't be you unless you have, I don't know, invented a new propulsion system for the rockets, something like that. Yeah, I'm sure you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. And she said, I always strongly think about her. I was strongly thinking about her. Should I consider to get back to her? Says, but I think you gave me your response. Thank you, Mehran. I really appreciate it. My pleasure. I mean, so sometimes you need wiser people like you, your honor. Oh, thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate that. Tambi is here. Says, hello, uncle. How are you and how is your brother? I hope you're all well. Thank you very much for asking, Tambi. I was talking to my brother today. Yeah, he's a little bit better, but he has had some shortness of breath, and that is a concern. And hopefully, he's going to be taken care of. And thank you for asking. And Chizek, Chizek says, "Hey, Uncle, I just wanted to give you another message of appreciation for what your videos did for me this couple of months. You're a saint. Thank you." Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I sometimes see this halo on my head, the sainthood, but I didn't know what it was. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you, Chizek. I appreciate you, and thank you for sharing that. And I'm delighted that the videos have been helpful to you all, or some of you, and whoever thinks it has. And I appreciate you sharing it with me. Amin says, my point is, how can I forget her? Don't need to forget her. Why do you forget her? A pleasant woman, and you had great sex with her and great relationship with her. So enjoy it. Enjoy whenever you think of her. Enjoy it. But don't go into the memory and stay there and to keep enjoying it. No, while you live your life and active and trying to create new routine for your life now that you guys have broken up, if her thoughts, her memory comes into your mind, whatever else that you guys did, the activities, the outing, the kissing, the body and sex and all that, that's fine. Enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't try to push it away. That's fine. Let it be. Eventually, you get tired of it. Okay, now what? It's all memory. Okay, fine. But I'm busy and I want a new girlfriend and so on. And you will meet someone and just focus on building your life. Whatever it is that you're doing, you have a job, focus on your job, make money. Women like money. So I'm not saying they all, but they all want, we want money for comfort. So focus on building your life. Go to the gym, be healthy, eat good food, take care of yourself. Moderate exercise and workout to keep yourself fit. At the same time, focus on your job, make good money, be a decent person, to love yourself, appreciate yourself, and all that exudes outwardly. All that energy is a lure because that's who you are. You're not pretending it. You take care of yourself, you're eating right, you're exercising, you're focusing on your work, you're honest, you make money, and you try to research and learn more stuff. And that character brings about a certain energy, and that energy is your salesman, is what the girl's going to be sold towards you. Like you're going to be interesting to them. So work on yourself and you will reap the benefits. Don't focus on how can I pick up this girl. No, work on yourself. The picking up apparatus will naturally do its job without you even doing anything. You just become a well-rounded person. And women, decent women, wise women, good women are looking for decent people. Forget about all these mishmash and one night stand, this and that. Yeah, maybe fine. But those are not the women that you want to have a long-term relationship with. Or at least not all of them. So work on yourself and everything will fall into place. Don't have to forget her. Why should you forget her? It's part of your life. And Sebastian says, any advice to stop overthinking? Well, for that, you need to focus on the 4-step. Let me put the link for the 4-step here for you. And that would be the way to rewire your brain when you have intrusive thoughts and you keep thinking about it, so you know what to do when that looping starts. So we say 4 step. Okay, there it is. The video is called Explaining Dr. Schwartz the 4 Steps for OCD Sufferers based on his video on the topic. So, this is pretty much exactly what he was explaining, which I made a video out of it. So, it'll be a little bit more, maybe with little explanation. So, it will be more helpful for your absorption. And Tammy says, the last time I met with my ex and she refused to reconcile, when we parted, she got in the taxi, and as the taxi drove away, she she kept smiling and waving until she faded away. Why was she happy or waving? Well, she wanted to separate, probably. I don't know exactly, but she probably wanted to separate on good terms. And she wanted to leave an expression of, I have no ill intentions, I have no ill thinking, I have no bad energy about you, and that you're a good guy. It's just that we are not what we expect, or whatever stage of life she is at, or stage of mind she is at. And she was just trying to make sure you understand there is no hardship, there is no hard feelings, and she's pleased with this experience, but it's no longer there for her. And that's it. So it wasn't meaning to come and try again. If it was, well, that's not the way to communicate it. When you asked her, you want to reconcile, she should have said yes. But I think she just wanted to make sure that you guys are in good terms, and she doesn't mean any malice. Don't interpret it. Just take the smile. It says, nice girl. She smiled, and that's beautiful. Try to find out what it meant. It's all about your own seeking for assurances that I'm still a good person. Of course you are. You don't need approval of this woman or that woman to feel that you're a good person or not. You know if you're a good person or not. If you're not, fix it. If you are, then be proud of it. Don't go up and down because somebody said this, somebody said that. The truth and the fact about you and your behavior is one, regardless of who understands, misunderstands, or whatever. That's their problem. It's not fact just because somebody uttered it. So don't be bothered by that. And she says, and he says, okay, that's it. And so we go to Tambi again. Says, over the years, I couldn't understand her behavior back then. Many may say, who cares? It's been years. But I'm a person who likes to study people and their behavior. It enhances my social abilities. Yeah, okay. But don't have to, now that it's over, you don't have to beat yourself on the head. Why didn't I know this that I know now? Who cares? Okay. So, where are we now? The study that you need to do most is about you and your own psyche. Don't worry about other people. Focus on your way of dealing with life and how you understand the movement of your inner psyche, and be on top of that by being aware of the movement and the malfunctions of the components. whether it's the amygdala, why it's overactive, whether it's basal ganglia, striatum, caudate nucleus, prefrontal cortex. You got to learn all these things and their function in your head so you won't be bamboozled. Most of the time when you're impressed or you follow or you're questioning or you wondering, worrying and concerned about some things when you really actually don't know what the hell they're talking about, what it is all about. All this governmental bullshit that is going on in the world, because everything is secret, they don't tell you what the hell they want to do, and they come up with bits and pieces here and there, and they make it all palatable, and they give you reasons that why you should do it is good for you. Well, in reality, it's actually not good, hazardous, and their devious plans is not known and clear. That's why you follow, because you don't know. But once you know about the whole scheme, what they're trying to do, you won't think that what they're presenting to you is interesting anymore. Or what they're suggesting to you or promoting you to do is not acceptable anymore, because you know the end game, you know where they're trying to get at, but they're giving you a bit of it. You know, for example, if they come up with laws, let's say in this country, to confiscate all legal and registered gun owners, law abiding gun owners, guns, they want to take all those guns away. You think, you may believe that this, oh, because of safety, because we want everyone to be safe for criminalities and all that. But if you really look into it, say they're actually trying to get your guns away because they mean harm to you in the future, limiting your freedom, turning into kitchens in the kitchens, in the chickens in the cage, and limiting all the God-given rights that you have. That's why they're trying to get your guns away. So no, in no way, shape, or form you can have any power to resist anything tyrannical that they want to implement. Then you understand that this is not about control. This is not about controlling crimes. This is not about safety. Because if you want to help with safety, well, increase the border guards for picking up the guns that are coming into the country illegally and the people who have guns that are not registered. That's where you go after it. Not law-abiding gun owners to use the guns for hunting or for their livelihood in their farms or for sport shooting, because that's part of life, the things you want to be good at. So when you understand all these things, then you don't comply, because you know that they have ulterior motives, that they're not showing it to you, but they're packaging it as safety. We care. It's all for your own safety. It's all bullshit and lies. So yeah, I don't know why we get in there, but there's a point in there somewhere. If there's not, just understand you shouldn't comply with the goddamn governments these days, because they're full of nonsense. They have their own ulterior motives, especially the one in our country today. All right. You want to comply, but you got to know what it is and what is it, moving towards before you be a sheep. And Malik says, I come to realization all this anxiety, OCD is pure rubbish. There is no such thing. Is such the way our brain worked out is weird. Don't get bamboozled by labels. Follow your goals. The brain will follow. Yeah, there you go. Again, I was saying, once you get to know the actuality of everything, how things function, then you're not following an ambiguous thing because you can't understand it. Then you think, because I don't understand it, it must be true, because I don't understand it. But the ones who are saying it, they understand it. That's why I guess we got to the politics of the things, because that's exactly the same thing with OCD and HOCD and all the other subset of OCD. When you understand how the brain functions and malfunctions, then you understand that the brain is not infallible. is not deity. It's an organ that fucking malfunctions. That's what it is, like everything else that could malfunctions in our body. We understand that. We have diarrhea. We say, oh, it's a malfunction. We don't say, oh, diarrhea. I must have been a diarrhea all the time. I didn't know. It's now I'm identified as a person whose natural state of being is diarrhea. No, it's a bug. You got to learn how to fix it, how to repair it. Same thing. Brain falls into a crap. You suddenly think, oh, that must be me. It has intrusive thoughts that you're this, you're that you identify as your different sexuality. Suddenly, so, oh, maybe that's why. The brain is saying, not you. It's like your intestine is malfunctioning. You understand that. You do something to fix it. But when the brain suggests something that is contradictory to what you are or your preferences are, this is not what you want, you become aware of, this is not me, and you question it, but yet you don't know what to do. I should accept it because the brain says, no, it's the same as diarrhea. It needs help to be rewired to put back in its default state. It's malfunctioning. But if you don't know how the brain functions and malfunctions, you believe the suggestion that comes out of the brain. Same thing. Governments, if you don't know what their end goal is, you think that they're actually meaning truthfully when they say it's for your own safety. It's all bullshit. All dictators and tyrannical systems come out in the name of it's for your own safety bullshit. So be aware of that always. All right, guys, it's been 1 hour and 22 minutes, and we have no more questions. I think we have answered all the questions that came to us. So it's time for me to say I love you all. Thank you very much for being here, giving me the opportunity to share a thing or two with you. I look forward to our next live stream. In the meantime, be good to yourself, and to the others, I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Subscribe on my channel, visit my channel, and go through the videos that you might be interested in. Mind-that-seeks-truth.com is making it one step away to talk to me one-on-one on Skype and discuss what's concerning you. I'll talk to you soon. But we too, like the iceberg, have 1,000 times bigger powers that is not visible, and we must. Why? Is it something we're rambling on and I expect you to accept it? Or is there actually another power within us? Would you come and help me out? Okay. What I want you to do is put your hands underneath my arms and just lift me up. There we go. Okay, now, that's my physical part, right? Same thing, again, with that. Just want to see if there's any difference. Go ahead. Now, go ahead. Now, this, go ahead, when you're ready.
Go ahead.
So you see, this is different than what he was doing, and I'm not really doing anything. You convinced?
Yeah.
So are you guys convinced that there is something other than, thank you.
Yeah, no
Thank you very much.